The top 3 defensive players selected in this year's draft were all defensive ends. So who will be the first defensive player selected in next year's draft? To give us the top 5 on his big board, we say hello once again to our managing editor, Pete Futek. Pete, I'm going to take a wild stab here and go out on a limb. I think I might know who's at the top of your board.
Yeah, that defensive end class of this year is nothing compared to what's happening next year. And Jadeveon Clowney would have gone ahead of everyone. He probably would have been the #1 overall pick. He was the guy that everyone wanted coming into this draft. Obviously, he didn't come out because he wasn't eligible. But now comes the process of the backlash. Everyone knows he's the Heisman star. Everyone knows what he can do. However, can he produce on the same high level, even though he's going to be targeted by everybody this year? So his sack total might be cut in half, but the scouts aren't going to care. They're going to still love him somewhere in the top 3, if not #1 overall. Next guy on the list is a guy who I think is going to rise up quickly as the new star of the LSU defense, Anthony Freak Johnson. They call him the Freak for a reason. He is big, strong, ridiculously quick in the interior. He's got that pass rushing ability to be that 5 technique guy that NFL teams just drool over. Next up, a lot of Alabama guys are going to be going off the board. This linebacking core might have 3 guys who are going to go in the first round. Trey DePriest, Adrian Hubbard, and the best of the bunch, C.J. Mosley. He's the leader of the lot. Great range, a signature star on a defense full of signature stars. Back to the defensive tackles. To me, Jernigan out of Florida State. We talked about all these great pass rushers on the Seminoles this year in this year's draft. Well, next year it's going to be about the defensive tackles. Jernigan's an interior pass rusher, pretty much like Anthony Johnson, just not quite as strong. And then finally, the star of the Notre Dame defense, not named Manti Te'o, Stephon Tuitt, great pass rusher. Again, another guy who can just get in the backfield with all the size, all the tools, all the abilities. Next year is going to be all about the defensive tackles.
All right, let's talk more about Tuitt for a minute, and let's compare him to guys that were drafted this year, Breon Warner and Deion Jordan and Barkevious Mingo. Yep. How do his skills compare to those guys?
He's a bigger guy. He's not a speed rusher in any way like a Mingo is, and Warner's more of an effort type. Tuitt's just a factor. He's just a playmaker. He can fizz a 5 technique into 3-4. You can put him outside a little more. He can do a little bit of everything. I like his overall game better than I like those guys.
All right, so Pete, we usually talk about people on your list. It's rare we talk about some not on your list, but one guy that maybe stands out is Texas defensive end Jackson Jeffcoat is excluded.
All about his injury. He's lost for the last year and a half with a torn pectoral muscle, but certainly you're right. I mean, as far as a pure pass rusher, he's probably second on the list behind Jadeveon Clowney. He has got everything to get in the backfield. He's got to get strong against the run, got to get more consistent, but boy, in his first year, he more than lived up to his prep hype.
All right, Pete, great stuff. Can never be too early to look ahead to see the top offensive prospects for the 2014 draft year. Pete breaks it down right here on CampusInsiders.com.